Welcome to Silicon Valley Life. In each episode, you'll get an insider's look at what makes Silicon Valley special, how people pursue ideas, deal with failure, and enjoy life. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, concordiaventures.com. Now, here are the hosts of Silicon Valley Life, Naeem, Zafar, and Meena, Meyyappan.
Well, hello, viewers. Good morning, good afternoon to you. This is Naeem Zafar with Meena, and we are back here with another live episode. Look forward to your comments as we go along. And we also have our guest with us, Amanda Fornal. Meena, how was your week?
My week is it's a springtime here in the Bay Area. Let's talk about the fun stuff around here and then come to what I was really doing. It's springtime. It's beautiful. I think there's a lot of blossoms, wildflowers. I went hiking 4.5 miles yesterday, irrespective of my busy schedule. And I would say typical Silicon Valley busybody days the last few days. That's what has been my week. But I'm excited about this podcast and what we're going to learn about from Amanda today. So I'm looking forward to it too.
Yeah, Amanda is an interesting introduction because I met her, very Silicon Valley-like, on Lunch Club. When you meet random people paired by artificial intelligence a few months ago, and I found her to be quite fascinating. So I thought we need to bring her to the. I've been to 84 countries and I brag about it. Amanda puts me to shame. She's been to 110 countries, is an entrepreneur, has done so many things. Amanda, who are you? Tell us more.
Yeah, I clearly like exploration and I like travel, of course. My background is in tech. I've been in the tech industry for 25 years as a consultant. I've been a solopreneur consultant for 20 years on my own. And in addition to that, I've been in the startups about 4 years. So I do everything from advising to working with accelerators to actually founding a company called Founder Buddies, which is a peer-to-peer matching for female entrepreneurs.
Well, okay, Founder Buddy, that's very interesting. Tell us more about that. What is the mission? What have you done? How does it work? How does it benefit?
It all started, I'd say, 10 years ago when I got really interested in just mentoring and coaching women in technology. And I started just learning how could I be the best mentor, best coach, and just researching and learning. And a few years ago, I decided to get a coaching certification. And a part of that, it was an academic program, and I got to pick a research project. And I decided to research how can we help more female tech founders succeed. And in doing that, I had an opportunity to interview a lot of women, do surveys, read all of the academic research that already exists. And what I learned is there's really a gap, and it's helpful to pair people together that are at the same place so they can share learnings. And so that's how I decided to build Founder Buddies. And so our first cohort just finished, and it's really exciting because you get to see them change their lives. And even today, someone said, you know what, Amanda, my match number 2, we actually are not only in touch, but we're applying for a grant together. I was like, oh, my heart. I was so happy to see. And she's like, I'll let you know if we get it. And I'm like, either way, the fact that you met someone on my platform, that it was so impactful that you're applying for a grant together, just makes me really happy. So our mission is to help more female entrepreneurs succeed and give them a community of meaningful relationships. Because often we do network and we meet people, but it's different when you actually build a relationship with someone. And that's what we do. So I matched each person 4 times. So one person a month, and you meet with them 4 times just for 30 minutes a week, and you build that relationship. And so far it's been great.
That's awesome.
I
have so many questions. Go for it.
It is virtually. So what's interesting is, with entrepreneurship, companies start, companies fail. That's the way it is. So it's really interesting. I tried to start with a good number of people, and we started with 100 people from 37 countries. And we actually even ended with over 50 from 22 countries. So even through that, people deciding they don't want to be entrepreneurs, etc., we still ended with over 50 people from 22 countries that were sharing information. And I think the cultural learnings from that are so amazing because you get to learn how businesses are in different countries and how you can share what works well in your location and might work well in someone else's location.
Well, just to make sure, it's online and you're pairing people based on your own algorithm.
Correct. I
And,
created an algorithm based on all of my research where I thought would be really effective. For example, about 50% were tech entrepreneurs and 50% were not. So I split the cohort where we work together with the non-tech people and then the tech people. So again, the idea is peer to peer and share when you're going through something that you can help each other.
so, Meena, were you
I
just
have so many questions as it comes to this, especially women entrepreneurship. And I myself have been trying to work on a startup, and I know the difficulties of it. So, two things that I would like to share with our viewers. One is, how do they apply for your program? Because everybody might be thinking, okay, what about me? I'm here too. So maybe you tell us a little bit, how do we apply for your program and what your criteria are? And then I'll pause for my next set of questions.
Absolutely.
does it cost
So
anything?
yeah, so easy. You can just go to founderbuddies.com. And so the first cohort is complete now, and we're preparing to see, how do we want to do the next cohort? Do we want to focus on one industry? How are people going to benefit the most? And so you can apply, you can tell us what you're interested in. And when you fill out the profile, you say those things. It's important to understand what stage you're in, right? So if you have idea stage, they might end up opting out after 2 months and say, okay, my idea isn't validated. But if you are in a growth stage, it's good to be matched with other people in growth stage so you can understand your go-to-market strategies and how to work well together. So easy to apply, just go to founderbuddies.com. In addition,
Awesome.
Meena, just so you know, we're also having a secondary program. So to fill the gaps when we don't have cohorts, it's called PowerPod, right? So that is going to be the same idea where peers meet once a week and we talk about making sure that we're setting goals and setting achievable goals that we can track and making sure that people show up for their companies and themselves. And so anyone can also apply for PowerPod now.
Awesome.
So when you match, obligation is you're going to meet for 30 minutes 4 times in 1 month.
Correct.
And then you switch to somebody else.
Correct.
So then by
And
the time you're done, you talk to 2 or 3 people multiple times.
correct. And I also create an agenda every week in order to drive that conversation forward. And I also encourage everyone to check in with your buddy. Are you a person that loves agendas and wants to follow it exactly? Or are you someone that wants to just talk and socialize? So setting those expectations is really important. So there's always an agenda for you to follow, and there's always activities. And one of the main activities every month is setting your monthly goals. And then we also always do a retrospective. Did you meet those goals? And if you didn't, why not? And how can we change what we're doing in order to make sure we either set more effective goals or we meet those goals that we set?
That's cool.
Right. And cost?
I did the first cohort for free. And so that was the reason why is to make sure that there was a global community that we could learn from and see who would benefit the most. So pricing strategy is being done currently for the next cohorts. And then you can join PowerPod for $50 a month.
Excellent.
Well, actually 48. I like even numbers, and my mom's favorite number is 4. So I was like, oh, Mom, 48.
That's a
As
great
long as it's
question.
not a Fibonacci number. By the way, Meena, you may want to get closer to the camera. You're getting fuzzy for me. Is my eyes or is it you?
She is
I
fuzzy.
don't
No.
know.
Yeah,
It's
that
a
looks
little
better.
fuzzy today. So you just have to bear with me. I don't know what's going on in my place today. So I will move to the next question. I think there's a lot of questions, especially if a lot of women are listening in here, right? I will say there is, being an entrepreneur myself, there's 2 things that happen. For women, there's a lot of responsibilities in the house, right? So even to get women into tech, we've struggled with this aspect of it because you have multiple responsibilities. You have responsibility for a house, you have a responsibility of a paycheck in some cases, and then you're doing entrepreneurship. What we find in like doing research that a lot of male counterparts easily get into entrepreneurship and willing to risk everything with nothing, and women struggle with that. The concept of like giving up your financial stability and moving into entrepreneurship is the biggest jump. I know Naeem will laugh because this has been my hardest challenge in my entire life. Like, how do I give up that, paycheck addiction? It's not even I need it. It's that addiction, it's that safety net in return and take some risks of this nature. How much of this do you encounter as you're going through all these women? What are the learnings we can take away from that?
Yeah, I think that's a really important question, and it definitely affects different age groups in a different way, and it also affects different cultures in a different way. And those expectations that are put on you from the different layers of your culture, whether it's your home culture, your town, your state, even your country, right? And so I talk to different women in different situations, and one of the things that someone brought up to me in the program is, Amanda, I would love to be matched with other women who have children of a certain age because I can say something and they get it, right? So when we're doing matches, that wasn't one of the original things. I didn't ask if people had children, and if they had children, what age, but that might be something we want to think about matching people so they can rely on each other to understand the challenges that they're going through. But another young person asked, well, I'm expected to be in an arranged marriage, so that's just my life. So Amanda, how do I go through this life, but I want to have a company, right? So we talked about those things, right? And so they're all real. And I think the idea of matching peer to peer is getting with someone who understands what you're going through, but is still pushing forward, right? So we talk about, what does it mean to be an entrepreneur? And you hear this word resilience all the time, because we have so many ups and downs in our entrepreneurial life, but also in our personal lives. We're all humans. We're not robots at this point. So we have things that go on, whether it's our home, our family, our pets, everything that's happening to us. And we have to be resilient, and we have to have people that care about us to help us go through those things, because that's the thing. Often we're by ourselves. We're the only person starting that company. You're either a solopreneur or you're a solo founder, whether if it's a growth company. And that's why these communities are important, just talking about it and understanding what your breaking point is, right? Setting expectations that I'm going to push through this unless this happens, then I think that's unacceptable. But I know ahead of time, right? Because it gets really hard for people to say, am I going to make it through this, right? And someone can say, I made it through this. You're going to be okay. It sucks right this second, but we have to get back up and fight another day. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. So I also wanted to change the topic a little bit about your own personal life, because what fascinated me, that I don't meet too many people who've been to all 7 continents and 110 countries. So why? Let's start with a simple question. What's wrong with you?
Cray. No, so it started off as, I grew up really sheltered, right? I grew up in a small town. I grew up in the trees. I had never been on a plane. We didn't have cable TV or credit cards. I mean, like, sheltered. And so when I went to college, it was just this opportunity to see and learn. And there's this thirst of curiosity that I've always had, but just in a very home fashion, right? So let's go play in the woods, right? So that's what you did. If you don't really watch TV, what are you going to do? You're going to play outside. So there's always that thirst for curiosity and learning. But when you get it on a global scale, it is just amazing. So everything was just amazing, right? So every time we see something new, it's just like, wow. And just being able to take those opportunities in college to study abroad, get an internship abroad, it was just always so eye-opening and just wonderful to learn from other people, other cultures. And it just kept growing, right? So I never set out to do so many things. It's just when you have an opportunity, you say yes. And so not only am I saying yes to opportunities, I'm seeking them out, right? If I have an opportunity to study something, I started a poverty alleviation nonprofit many, many years ago, over 20 something years ago. And we were helping people from many different countries, which was really interesting. And we had an opportunity to do a little mini documentary about one of the schools that we were helping. And so I was like, yes, let's do that. And so I went to India for the first time, and we got to meet the children at the school, and it was so fun. And it was so fun to see them happy when you're helping them. And then I stayed in India for a month by myself, and I just traveled around the country. And this is in 2004. And I took some pictures of some women who had some really interesting tattoos. And I went home and I was like Googling this, and I was like, oh, I don't know what these are, right? The internet wasn't as robust as it is today. And so I just got inspired to study cultural tattooing. And so I was studying all cultures and tattooing and what that meant. And then I decided I'm going to go to the South Pacific, and I'm going to bring a camera. And by myself, I went to the South Pacific and traveled for 4 months. I went to, I think, 20 islands, 9 countries. and 50 flights. And I just traveled and I interviewed people about tattooing in the South Pacific. And I don't even have a tattoo, right? So it was just, I wanted to learn about them. And so I did. Another one is I wanted to do something positive. I often see a lot of artwork that has a little bit of a negative piece to it. And I was like, I want to bring positive art to the world. So I decided to study the meaning of love. And so I read tons of books. I studied extensively about love. And then I traveled for a year around the world. And I interviewed people, actually over 612 people, on how they define love, which love they value the most, and why. And so that was so interesting. Again, you're learning from different cultures. I mean, 75 cultures I learned from, ages 3 to 95. And I'd say that would be the most powerful project I've ever done. It's like people telling you their real stories. So in doing that, I was like, hey, what countries have I not been to? I might as well go visit some of those countries. So it just kind of added onto my list.
Are there some countries which
Depends.
most Americans would not know is interesting to visit, which only you would know because you've been there?
Well, I can't say what most Americans know or don't know, but I will say when I talk about Vanuatu, which is a country that I find very special, most people don't know where it is. It is a small country. And so when you're in the South Pacific, the countries are all very small, obviously. And so when I was in Vanuatu and Solomons, they're quite unique. And I also scuba dive. And I'd say scuba diving in those countries, because they're less touched, was absolutely breathtaking and amazing. So my first trip to Vanuatu, I studied tattooing, and, I was very focused on my work at the time. So I really didn't do tourist stuff. I was like focused on learning. And then somebody told me, did you visit this wonderful volcano when you were in Vanuatu? I was like, no, what volcano? I like volcanoes. And so I saw that I could have gone to see a volcano. So it was set in my head, I will go see this volcano one day. So about 10 or so years later, when I was doing my love film, I said, I'm going to go to Vanuatu. I'm going to interview people about love, and I'm going to see this volcano. So I saw the volcano, I learned about love, and I think Vanuatu is a really special place.
Meena, you were going to say something. Interrupt
No,
you.
actually, what I was very interested is, you've done a lot of this travel, right? And what brings you back to the Silicon Valley? What brings you back to the Bay Area?
Yeah, so for me, Silicon Valley has always been a place that I work, right? So I often go, and I like my work. Some people are like, why don't you do like art or exploration just for your life? I was like, well, I really love to work. I would say I'm a workaholic. So even in my hobbies, I make them very serious. Like I travel and I created women in exploration as a thing, not just one of my hobbies. And so I enjoy the friendship and I enjoy the technology, of course. And of course, the weather is wonderful. So for me, it represents my job, my livelihood, and some wonderful people that I've kept in my life since I've been going there since 2004.
What was the deal with Antarctica? How was that like experience? What did you see? What did you like about it?
Big hearts to Antarctica. I mean, it is breathtaking. I always say, if I was super wealthy, I would definitely go to Antarctica once a year. I mean, it's just, it is a magical, magical place. And my story getting there was very dramatic. So I booked a trip maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the boat left. Like some people plan a lifetime. I was like, oh, it's on sale. Let's go. And so I packed up my stuff. I was like buying the jacket the night before, like I'm getting there. There was a huge snowstorm. I got stuck and I didn't make it in time. My flight got canceled. It was very dramatic. So then I was stuck in Buenos Aires. They lost all of my luggage. So mind you, I'm going on a 3-week trip on a boat and I have no luggage. I land 3 hours before the boat leaves. I'm not fluent in Spanish and all I have is a credit card. And they're just like, we'll bring you to buy clothes. I was like, oh my gosh. So I had to go buy all the clothes. I get on the boat and I'm by myself and don't know anyone, but everyone was so kind. And they're just like going into the lost and found and trying to find me shoes. And everyone kind of just took care of me. Because I booked a very small boat because the smaller the boat, the more time you get on land. And of course, I'm going there to be on land. And so I was taken care of and that was wonderful. And it was just a magical experience, right? At any moment I had to be on land, I took that advantage. I just took pictures of obviously you have the penguins, but baby elephant seals, let me tell you, I just cannot even. They're so cute and amazing. And so South Georgia Island was really special for me because the time of year that we went, it's just seeing these adorable baby seals. I mean, yeah, big fan. If you ever have an opportunity to do it, absolutely. But try to have your luggage.
We went from Tierra del Fuego from Argentina. I went from Australian side. So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, I was from Ushuaia. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, question is, what are the places in the world which, Meena, do you have any favorite places where you love to go or have been to or want to go?
For me,
I
it
never
is
asked you.
never asked me, right? So my explorations have been mostly in Asia, and my favorite spot is Siem Reap and specifically Angkor Wat, right? I mean, we see Jungle Book in a lot of movies. It's not the same.
Which country are we in?
Cambodia. We're talking about
Cambodia.
Cambodia. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're talking about Siem Reap, specifically in Cambodia. And
Okay.
that's where Angkor Wat is. That's where all the movies are envisioned out of Jungle Book, right? But you have to go in person and look at the architecture, how that was built. Amazing. I mean, for that time and age, the kind of foundation they built, the protection they had with the waterways so they could keep the enemies away, and how it was built is like stunning. I don't think today we can even recreate that without a lot of work. I mean, there's a lot of engineering work that has to be done, right? So for me, that is, and then when you look at how nature is so powerful, it's a reminder, right? We talk about technology always in Silicon Valley, but nature is much more powerful, force that we forget about, right? And if you go there, you can see like over time how trees can take over entire structures. You can see that in real life. It's really shocking. The size of a tree root you can see through your building will amaze you. So for me, that's like a reminder that force of nature is much bigger than what technology is, because I live and breathe technology, and sometimes seeing things like that really puts me back in a different perspective. So I think everybody should visit, and that's a photographer's delight. There's 5 minutes before sunrise and 5 minutes before sunset. Everybody runs to take pictures because you get beautiful pictures of the sandstone, right, with no flash, and those pictures you cannot. It's very hard to recreate anywhere else. So
My
that's my
favorite,
favorite.
my favorite is safari. So I've done that in Kenya, I've done that in Tanzania, in Zimbabwe, in Botswana, and this December I'm planning to South Africa. So because you really get off grid, it's as off grid as you can get. And after about 2, 3 days, you feel like you have come home. This is natural. This is where you should be. It's very, very spiritual to be on a safari. So Amanda, you done any of that in Africa?
Yeah, I've had opportunities to do safaris in Africa, like you, Botswana, Zambia, and I did South Africa. I mean, again, I use the word magical because they're all so magical. I really appreciate any kind of travel, really. And it was just, I felt so happy. Again, the idea is they'll bring the truck out X amount of times a day. And some people don't take the advantage. I was like, anytime that truck's going out, I'm on that truck, right? So absolutely take advantage of every opportunity to see the wildlife and just have that amazing time. And of course, like you were saying, Meena, any time at sunset is absolutely gorgeous. The golden hour and just seeing the beauty of the landscapes. Yeah, magic.
When you talk about women in exploration, it's something you launched during COVID. What are we exploring here?
Yeah, so women in exploration. So usually on my birthday, I try to do something fun. And I had a scuba dive booked and I was very excited. And then COVID kept me from doing that. And I was like, well, I still want to do something fun. And what would be fun and impactful? And I decided to create the website Women in Exploration. And the idea here was to give a voice to those who aren't always given a voice when it comes to exploration. And my view of exploration is a little bit larger, maybe, than traditional. It's not just going and seeing new lands, but it's also exploring STEM, anything in tech. What have you done to change the world for the better? And so the start of it is I created bios for about 129 women from history that have done something that is interesting or changed the world. And it allows people to have something to talk about. So the whole point of the whole website is to say, okay, this is interesting. Let me learn more. It's a jumping off point for conversation. And now we're growing, and I'm going to start interviewing women of today and of the future. What I mean of the future is, you don't have to be someone famous to be interesting and exciting to be interviewed. It could be that I'm studying this and I'm excited about this, and I want to change the world for the better by doing X, Y, and Z. And so that's where we're moving, and also doing projects for kids, again, to get people excited about things that we might not hear in history class. And also to keep as a reminder that just because they're not on this site doesn't mean that things didn't happen. Because if you weren't documented in history, then we can't put that information there. So we just do our best to put the information that we can. And we also have a place where people can submit information because you might know something that we'd like to share with the world.
Great. So guys, maybe, Meena, were you going to say something? I was going to switch topics to our discovery of the week, but go ahead. You had something on your mind.
That's what I was thinking. We are running short. There's so much of interesting, conversations in here, but we're running short, so we should cover exactly what I was thinking. And go for it.
Well, it was a pretty eventful week. Not only we finished the semester, we had this world's largest entrepreneurship conference, TiCon, in which I did a all-day startup boot camp, which was about 3,000 people were there at the conference. But I also ate at a wonderful place called, and I bet you've never been there, Meena. It's up in Hamilton. Grand View is the name of the restaurant. It's way up, 30 minutes up the Mount Hamilton, looking at the whole San Jose. Grand View.
Yeah.
And had a full prefix 4-course meal. And they recently reduced prices. Who knew? So for $90, the 4-course menu, wonderful view, loved it. So that's the highlight. The low light is somebody T-boned my Tesla and is probably totaled. But I survived. How dramatic was your week? Not as dramatic as this week.
Not as dramatic as that. So here is something that people must know about. Manresa, Michael Clinch closed his Michelin star restaurant in Los Gatos, but they run something called Rituals, and where they bring international chefs in here, and there's every few weeks you get a different chef from a different country. So I've been doing that. Yes, it's not a view or anything, but its experience is completely different.
I know, but it's just, you did it?
Yeah.
And I want to do it, but every price tag is like,
it's actually really good. I was surprised. I didn't think it was a last minute thing because there was an opening.
Nice.
It's wonderful experience, and you get to interact with the chef, look at their background, like why do they do what they do. So it's more interactive rather than a dine experience, which I think was fun. And I find that there is a lot of opportunity for a lot of people here who are into fine dining. They can get the global experience right here. That's what I would say. So check out Rituals in Manresa. I think
you have to bring different Michelin star chefs is really very special.
From the world.
And how many people, like 20, 30 people, or a bigger group?
20 to 30. That's the max that they host for our session. So it's not a lot of people.
Amanda, anything on your side? You want to share something with the audience? Places to go, things to eat, things to watch.
Oh my goodness, I'm not sure. I mean, I am a vegan, so I like vegetables. But I used to go to Manresa a long time ago, a lot, but I haven't been in years. This week, I have trouble always knowing what day of the week it is. So as an entrepreneur, sometimes you're just always working. And so days of the week is, what day is it? But so far, so good. The week's been great. And, eating my kale and tofu.
Well, actually, you mentioned vegan, so let me share that. As you know, the Michelin Guide rates restaurant at 3 stars is the highest you can get. There are only 13 restaurants in the USA with 3 stars. And one of them went complete vegan 3 years ago. 11 Madison Park.
Yep.
And it's a Michelin 3-star. So I flew to New York a week and a half ago just to eat there and come back. And we're completely vegan, multi-course menu, excellent, exquisite, cannot tell the difference, just a visual and just delightful, visual delight and just great taste, great service, total vegan, highly recommended.
Excellent. It is interesting. You mentioned New York. I was in New York the last 2 weekends, and you can just put a little bubble around wherever you're staying or whatever your activity is. And there's so many vegan restaurants in New York City. It is actually quite amazing. But yeah, I was at ECAD, which is the Explorers Club dinner 2 weekends ago. So that was exciting and fun. It was actually my first big event since COVID. So it was interesting being around 2,000 people all at once for the first time in about 5 years. But it was beautiful.
What happened with the Explorer Club is different than Women in Exploration. They're two different things.
Yeah, so the Explorers Club is very old. It's from, I say 120 years, but I don't want to make up dates. And it has evolved over the years. In fact, it didn't even accept women back in the day. So it wonderfully does now. And there's a lot of us. And so it is based on the firsts and exploration and adding to the body of knowledge of the world in these subject matters. And I've been a part of that club for 11 years. And my brother's also a part of the Explorers Club. So we actually both became explorers in our lives, even though we grew up in a very sheltered world, and that's fun. But yeah, that is different than Women in Exploration, which is what I created on my own, based on learning and interacting with female explorers around the world and just being excited to tell their stories.
Explorers Club, what happens? You just share stories. There's a purpose. You meet once a year. Tell us more.
So there's many different things with the Explorers Club. So there are different chapters around the world. For example, there's the headquarters, which is in New York, and I'm in the New England chapter because I'm from Connecticut, but there's chapters all over the US and as well as the globe. And there's many different activities. For example, there are lectures all the time that happen at headquarters. We also have some online, and then some of the chapters also do their own activities. But we do have one very large dinner, which is the ECAD dinner, the Explorers Club dinner. And that is to raise funds for exploration. And there's lots of different grants. And so there's many, many different activities with the Explorers Club. One that I'm active with is we do have a mentorship program within the club. And I've been a part of that committee for the past couple of years. And I love that because we get to match people within the club to help each other. And so we do have student members and we have obviously adult members, but we also have adult members who want to be mentees. And I think that's wonderful. Like, I had never been a mentee in any part of my life. And so I'm a mentor and a mentee. And that's really fun because you get to build relationships with really interesting people and you get to learn from them.
It does sound fascinating. Actually, never heard of it. I should look into this. This sounds very interesting. I know Meena is transitioning into being a mentor now, and she now decided that it's time to give back. So she has a couple of mentees, I know. Tell us more, Meena.
It's I think a transition, right? You go through where you're learning a lot, and then there's a point like, okay, how do you give back? You've received a lot. And in my life, there's multiple angles that I've received, right? Both technically, from leadership, a whole bunch of things. I said, okay, let's try this out. And would I be good at it? First, it requires a certain persona. I think Amanda could say better. It requires a persona to really mentor. Do I have it? Because I'm the go getter kind type, always busy, right? So when I stepped into this role, it really helps, it helped me, first of all, like to slow down because I have to learn from different angles. And then I realized I'm pretty good at it, which I didn't even know I could do. So I've been doing that. So anybody is interested, especially in the technology initiatives for mentorship, you can always reach us through our website on concordia.com. So that's what it is. But I know, Naeem, you've been doing this longer than I have. So you should share that with us too.
No, I think that's our website is hosted at concordiaventures.com. The idea is to help people around the world, and I've probably mentored thousands of people because a lot of time people call me up, they want some advice on something, and I say, okay, I'll be driving in the car to Berkeley this time for an hour, just call me, and we talk for 45 minutes, and I don't even know their name. It's not relevant. So, I can listen to music, I can listen to a book, I can talk to a human being. I take the human being. So you do that. I think what I really realized is that you need to have a couple of superpowers. One is to be able to articulate your thoughts with fewest possible words. Number two, be able to see through confusions, able to see through the fog and have crisply an angle. So that if you can do that to mentors, mentees, that is a good skill to have. So I've been polishing that skill. Get to the heart of the matter right away and add value in a way that everybody feels they got something at the end of the conversation. And I know the people Meena was mentoring, they were pretty happy with they got out of it. So we, all of us, I think three of us, share that passion, which is a good
I
thing.
agree. And I can only say one thing: AI cannot mentor the way humans do. I got this funky question asked to me a few days back, and I said, "Well, I can use AI and ask the questions." And I said, "Let's try this for fun." And we did an experiment. So we asked a question to, ChatGPT. We used ChatGPT. We asked fundamental questions about a problem that somebody was facing and asked the resolution of it. It was very theoretical. It says, "Oh, this exactly like this is the way you would address it," but it didn't talk about intent. Why. I mean, when we look at a problem, you look at what is happening, the intent of it, the options around it, and what is the best for the environment, right? So there's multiple things a human computes together to give you the answer, and AI goes one-sided, right? There's a theoretical answer for everything and doesn't take everything into account. So maybe there's room for AI improvement also, but I really feel it was very clear to me, the human mentor is much more rounded for anybody to work.
Yeah, because I think there's no
So
one formula to that. You have to be able to connect dots across multiple situations and domains. And humans are good at doing that. And machines will get there, but it'll be a while.
And I
But
would
yeah,
say, Meena, you talked about like a particular type of person. I do encourage people to be mentors, because some people I've noticed, they're like, I don't have anything to offer. You likely do. And, I've run some other mentoring programs in the corporate world for entrepreneurship, and they were so happy. They're like, I had something to offer and I was hesitant, and I'm so glad I did. Right. So we have so many years of experience, and people want to hear what has happened, right? There's nothing that we can replace with experience, right? Like, that's the idea. And so young entrepreneurs may be intelligent, fantastic, hardworking, loyal, all the great things, but an older entrepreneur has experience to pull on. And so if you can work with someone that has experience to pull on, it's going to be great for the both of you.
that's awesome. Cool.
well,
We're
excellent. I
almost
think
done.
we are
Yeah.
coming to wrap. Meena, were you any parting thoughts? Anything you want to share
No,
or ask?
the parting thoughts is I hope this session with Amanda, and there's continuity. So we'll share the information of what Amanda does, because it's very interesting. There was a lot we covered. That's what I wanted to really tell people about. Interesting
Yeah.
topics, both from, tech initiatives that she's working on, exploration, mentorship, and entrepreneurship. So I just thought I'll share that as a summary.
Yeah, Founders Buddies. We should talk about that in Women Inspiration. Thank you, Amanda, so much for coming and spending some time with us. I hope more people find out about those initiatives and join you. So thank
Excellent.
you.
It was great chatting with the both of you, and have a beautiful day, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
very
See you all soon in 2 weeks. See you in 2 weeks. Bye.
You've been tuning into Silicon Valley Life with your hosts, Naeem, Zafar, and Meena Meyyappan. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, concordiaventures.com. Thank you for your positive feedback, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others.